tactics change a little bit when we get to the pond. In the stream it's kind of easy because the fish will find a spot where they like to be and they'll sit there and the current will bring them food, but that doesn't happen in a pond where there's no current. So these fish will be cruising. Whenever you have any obstructions like a tree root or a stump or something like that, that's always a good place to look for the fish, or where the water comes into the pond or where it goes out. But that's basically the difference between pond fishing and stream fishing. A couple things to remember now that we're down on the water again and fishing. One thing to think about is how quietly we can pick up the cast off the water. And the water is going to add some tension to the fly line. And if we're quiet and just kind of slide that cast back and then lift it off and make the next cast, we haven't scared the fish. If we rip it off too fast, you can see the water sprays and it's noisy. The same thing is true with our presentation cast. We want to let that cast extend over the water and then land gently so we don't scare the fish. If we bring it down too soon while it's still traveling, then it smacks the water. Another useful cast is the roll cast. And the thing to remember about a roll cast is that it's important. The line never really leaves the water until it turns over on the forward cast, so there's no back cast. It's the perfect cast to use in places where we've got trees and brush around us and we can't make a back cast. It's also a good cast to use when we're fishing nymphs because they stay wet and waterlogged because we're not false casting them. And when we make the roll cast and they go back into the water, they sink a lot faster than they would if they had been false cast and dried out. With the roll cast, there are kind of two ways to make the roll cast. The first way we're going to look at is simply by bringing the rod tip up to about 1 o'clock and hesitating long enough for that line to drop behind the rod tip, and then basically just making the forward cast. Want to give that a try?
Okay.
Just let that line drop back here behind the rod tip. There you go. Anytime now, just make the forward. Good, good. What a lot of people do when they're learning to make the roll cast, which you did not do, is they bring the rod tip down too soon and it hits the water and the cast collapses or ends up in a big pile on the water because it didn't have time to turn over. And you just kind of automatically hesitated at about eye level just for a second and then followed through, and that's perfect. Try that again. Let's bring up the rod tip, hesitate. None of this is fast except that turnover on the front. Even that was good. You've got lots of slack in the cast now, which would allow the nymph to sink very easily. The other one you can use in tight places when you may not be able to pick the rod tip up high is off to the side if you've got the room. Just keep your fingernails pointed up towards you like you're holding a bug in your hand. Bring it back and just hesitate slightly and make the same cast, but this is using a low profiler's side arm. That's it. Now use your rod tip. Nice. Very nice. Do that one again. This is very helpful when you've got high trees and brush. Hesitate. Just give that line a little chance to droop back here behind the rod tip. When we're spey casting, they call that the D, the big D or little D. But it just kind of anchors that line a little bit and makes it easier to turn it over on the front. And on a roll cast, using that rod tip is important, as you can see, because that's what turns over the fly. Okay, just make one more of those. Either one, high or low. You can find, we've got kind of a little bit of a headwind here today, but you'll find that once you get comfortable with either one of those roll casts, that you can shoot line with it too. Yeah, no, that
got caught in the wind that time.
Yeah, but once that breeze blows through, we'll try it again. But you can shoot line with the roll cast. It's a great cast to use on windy days when you have a tendency to be tangled up or trying to keep the line out of the trees. So on a day like today, it'd be a great cast. And that's roll casting. It's important to stop your rod tip when you do that snap, that power snap or that paintbrush flick on the end of the cast. You want to be pointing that rod tip in the direction you want your fly to go, because that's what's going to send the cast. It's that wherever the rod tip is when you apply that power snap at the end.